start with, just thank you both for coming and joining us again. The reason why we do these is because we've often got asked in terms of, so do you still talk to so-and-so and what they're doing? And actually, it's one of the conscious things we said is we don't want guests to just be a guest and then never spoken to again.
Oh.
You know, we want to see how their journeys are continuing, and we want to continue to learn from them, and that's what we want to share with our audience as well. So whereas the previous episode was obviously very much about you, your journeys, your experiences, it's still going to be about your experiences, just with a couple of topics, current topics thrown into the discussion where the four of us can just have a chat. So for our listeners' benefits, obviously we've got Michelle Baldwin. She was on season 10. Season 10, we're about to be going on to season 15.
Oh my gosh, I feel older.
Yeah, so season 10, and Stephen, obviously from season 13.
My life.
So quite recent, but a lot's gone on since then. Episode 5 on season. So why don't we start with that in terms of since we spoke last, a little bit in terms of what's been going on, because I've been keeping a track and there's quite a lot been going on since we spoke. Stephen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think the last year has been really about self-discovery, self-learning, becoming more aware of what I want to do in the industry, what I don't want to do in the industry. Jennifer sitting over here is our latest addition. You know, we've realised we don't want to grow, but we want to grow smartly. So we want to grow without the stress of the growth, but we want to grow. It's a bit of a paradox. So Jennifer started with us as new business development manager, which is really exciting. New website is being created as we speak, and our latest venture is about to go live, which is called Teamy, which is a new team building company. So being on the neuro rainbow means for me, I struggle to find suppliers that align to my beliefs. And the one thing I really struggle with actually is team building, and I'm sometimes a member of a team building cohort, or I'm looking for team building, and I just struggle with the physicality of what team building is all about. It's, we're going to go archery, we're going to do shooting, we're going to go clay pigeon shooting, we're going to go down an inflatable. Well, I've got a broken neck, so I broke my neck in 2007, so I can't do any of that. And also, being on the Neuro Rainbow, I don't want to do that. So I kind of feel that team building is very much Marmite, but it's very based on a specific person. So if I'm going to build my career about inclusivity, you've got to think of the 100-metre sprint. Everyone's got to be at a different position of the 100 metres, haven't they? Otherwise, you're not equal. So we're in the process of now creating a people consultancy called Teamy, which is team building, but basically, it's got the pretense we don't like team building companies. So we've got to create something that suits for us. So that's where we are at the moment, and it's just being a little bit more braver in the industry, I think, understanding the clients you want to work with, but actually the ones that you don't, and having the bravity to turn around and say, I give you permission to leave.
I like the idea of Teamy, because as much as we all go to team building, we don't necessarily want to do team building. Like, he wants, I mean, some people just sit there going, oh, I don't want to stand up and do this.
You can almost see half the room.
Yeah.
Half the room.
The icebreaker, the dreaded icebreaker. Stand up, oh, God, I don't want to stand up and tell you about myself.
We don't
I'm
want
not
to
good
build
at
bridges.
archery. Yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm left-handed. I'm not, but if you're left-handed, how'd you do that? And then, you know, then you're kind of on shows. I think it's a really great idea,
It's
really interesting.
So Teamy is about team and I, because I was always in the generation where there's no I in teamwork. Well, actually, without the I, you ain't got the team. So you've got to have the I. And what we're doing, I think, as an industry, is we're not looking at the I, we're looking at the team. And I think team building is a bit of a tick box exercise. It's like, oh, let's get them all on the inflatables. Literally, rather stick pencils in my eye.
I'd rather not wear Leica and slide down an inflatable.
I quite like an inflatable.
Do you?
I'm not going to lie.
Do you?
I would be there on the inflatable.
If it was a bouncy castle, I'm on it, definitely. I'm jumping on that.
Yeah.
So
I've got so many injuries now. I don't know. I don't know whether I could risk assess that enough for me.
But it's quite a generic. When we look at team building, it's like, oh, we're going to, you know, what's the most exciting thing you're going to do? We're going to do vertigo. We're going to do jumping off, whatever. Absolutely. It's just so uninclusive. And I don't know what the answer is to that inclusivity. But as a people consultancy, we'll find out with you what are the capabilities of your team. What's your physical, but what's also your mental capability.
Also, what's the aim of it in the
What's the
first place?
aim?
You know,
What's
why
the
are you
why?
doing a
Yeah.
team? If it's to encourage interaction with, there's loads of ways you can do it, but understand your aim first.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it is, as you said, it's just tick box in terms of we haven't done a team building as a management team recently, we need to do one. Right, but why are you doing one? Or what's the need for one? What's going to be better on the outcome of doing that team building? And if you can start with that and work back, it actually helps informs what you need to do to facilitate that.
And we don't do that.
No.
As an
Well,
industry, we don't really do that.
Yeah.
So how do we as an industry turn around and say, right, how do we keep your brightest spark sparking, but how do we put more fuel into those that are underperforming? Because that's ultimately what it's all about, isn't it? It's about increasing performance.
Yeah.
But we kind of do it with events.
Yeah,
we
we
do
do.
go to our clients and say,
Yeah.
why do you want to attend that event?
Yeah.
So we are talking about the outcome
Yeah.
when it comes to events, but we're not actually doing it in terms of team. So I think it's a great
Great
idea.
idea.
I will look forward to seeing
Yes.
how
That's
that
where we are.
progresses.
Ta-da!
And
Sounds
Michelle,
Yeah, I suppose since the last time,
last time we spoke,
Last time? Oh
was
my
that was that
goodness.
the online or was that the after party that we
wine,
had?
Yeah. Maybe if I take the pod bit. But yeah, I mean,
Sorry, Stephen, you won't understand that, so I will explain it just
yeah,
for your benefit.
explain.
We
yeah.
had when Michelle joined us for the podcast, we were in different countries. I was
Yeah.
in Germany. Michelle has just come off an event.
Yeah.
You had the little one running around your heels.
Small little one, yeah.
And
yeah.
we were decompressing at the end of the podcast. Karen was
Yeah.
disappearing to put the little one to bed.
Yeah.
And I suddenly found that I had a tiny little bit of red wine in my glass left, and I says, I'm just going to top up. And Michelle said, I'll go get another bottle. So
Yeah.
Michelle was in the
Who's
UK,
in
I was in
Germany,
Germany, and we had another bottle of wine each and just continued the
A
conversation.
virtual drinking
Oh, it was
session.
fantastic, yeah.
It lasted
Yeah.
longer than the podcast.
Yeah, it did.
But
Well,
go on,
it was cathartic.
since then,
Since then, so I would say, so obviously it was Commonwealth Games that had just come out of the end of Commonwealth Games. After that, I was promoted to head of events here at the NEC, and that means now running a team of 16 event managers and senior event managers, which is great. And really, I suppose there's been that much that's going on. I've been involved in Invictus, you know.
and congratulations
Yes.
on that, 'cause
Yeah,
that's
thank
2027,
you.
am I right?
2027
Yeah, yeah.
in July, so that's a massive coup for us. That's been an incredible journey because I think learning all the things that I learned from Commonwealth Games has been really key to that bid. So involved in it right from the concept right through to now winning the bid, to
And
now
visiting.
doing the contract, visiting Vancouver, visited Germany, ended up going to Vancouver twice, which was fantastic. Met the patron, which was interesting. But it's not just about Invictus. There's a whole heap of shows that are going on behind the scenes. NEC's been really involved in, you know, winning lots of new business. So we've got lots of exciting things in pipeline, and it tends to be me and a few of the team that get involved in that, you know,
Initial starts.
that
Yeah.
initial starting point. So that's all, you know, that is
Busy.
fantastic. It
Yeah.
doesn't stop. It is busy all the time. Yeah, and pace is phenomenal.
Are we back up to pace, do you think, at NEC now? Back up to where we were
I
kind
think
of
I think we've surpassed pace.
That's incredible. Brilliant.
I think just the way in which things are changing. I think that the pace is there, but I think for us, we've had a new CEO that's joined.
Yes.
She's come from a different industry, and it's almost like retraining us as to what, you know, what does pace look like also outside of the event industry.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're so insular
Yeah.
just
Bubble,
on our
bubble,
industry,
yeah.
but actually there's great things going on outside of
To learn
events,
from.
and what do you learn from
Yeah.
that? So that's
Very,
been
very
quite
fun.
I think
useful.
that leads on to our first question.
Oh.
Nicely.
And
And
it was
anyone
good.
would think we put them together for a reason.
Oh.
It's not thrown together, this
Oh,
podcast,
there
is
you
it?
go. Okay, right.
But the first thing we want to talk about with you is about venues and visitor experience, and about the event and how important is the venue itself and to the visitor, and and I suppose, Michelle, like, what is the NEC doing in general to attract and keep people here?
Wow, I think that's been, I mean, it's always something that's forefront in our minds. I think it's quite interesting because I think where venues have changed over the years is that you end up becoming, I think we've become a lot more consultative almost in our approach. Whereas, you know, if you think before you had organiser would bring contractors in, venue, you sell the space to the organiser, but then you step out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that actually now where we've come on a massive journey and a journey with clients is that sometimes that's a great collaboration because we can talk to them about what we've seen that's good, what we've seen that's bad, different initiatives that we've seen on shows, you know, what are people doing that's great in the market. And I think for us, it's going right back a step. So all those touch points, taking it from everybody's perspective as well, breaking it down into chunks. You know, what's the contractor's journey? It's not just always about the visitor. I'm thinking of you, Jack. See, this is what it is. But you know, but they're people that are going to go away and talk about the venue, and if they have a good experience, they're going to talk about it to whoever. So I think it's looking at all of our different client groups and not just thinking it's visitor. So being very open with that and just trying to you know, walk in their shoes. And just make sure that you've absolutely nailed the brief for everybody. So I think that's what's always been really important to us. But I suppose where you're coming from is also what's out there, what's new.
Well, we'll come back to it and we'll flip across to
because
someone
I
who
think
looks.
that's where you'll be amazed.
In terms of how are you selecting your venues?
Yeah.
I think foremost it's about the customer service, and that's selfishly that's the journey that we face and the stresses that we face in trying to represent the needs of our client's brief. And more often than not, you come in like a wound up little pin into a venue, and what you need is a big smile on your face. Here's a cup of coffee, sit down, I've got you.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
And we went to an event last Tuesday, and literally it was like, well, I can't help you.
Oh God.
Well, hear me out. I've got a screen that's at the moment suspended on 2 chairs. That's probably not going to work. Can someone help me? There's no one in till 10 o'clock.
Oh.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
You're going to see the worst of me within about 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm going to be that wound up little coil. So I think for me it's about the service and the journey, and understanding that we have our own stresses and we're trying to represent the needs of the client. We're probably we're a bit like schizophrenic chameleons. We're representing so many different facets.
Yeah.
So we've got to have you by our side and actually feel you've got us,
Yeah.
and we can lean on you, just as
Yeah.
the client feels that we can lean on them.
Yeah.
For me though, it's all about actually the diversity piece,
Yeah.
and it's how venues are now starting to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. What is it that you're going to be able to deliver to me that allows my whole cohort to feel included, not just the generic?
Yes.
And what does that journey look like?
Yeah.
So for me, it's very much about the inclusivity and the diversity piece. How are we going to be able to manage our complete
Yeah.
cohort of
And
delegates?
I think that's really interesting because it kind of links in a little bit to what we're saying. So going on this journey, it's almost like, well, gone are the days where we're going to stand on the sidelines. We're collaborative.
Absolutely.
We work as a team. And it's trying to get under the skin, and that's where your best venue event managers will come from, because they've got to understand what is it that makes this event tick.
Yeah.
What is it important to the organisers to make sure that we nail it, and that is absolutely key. And I think we're starting to become a lot more rounded, and I think a lot more commercially savvy. So you've got the commercial element of it, you've got the customer journey. So all of a sudden this role has completely changed, because there's so many different, it's not just a tick box, it's not just a, let's let's do a schedule. You want teas and coffees at this time. It's not that anymore. It's a completely different role. It's about getting under the skin of the event and just really understanding what the brief is and working with organisers, etc., to make sure that you're delivering what you need to. Taking pride in it.
Yeah.
And I think
Taking
that's the
pride
same
in it.
with organisers, because we can be very, very overwhelmed with the amount of work we've got in the operation
yeah.
schedules, and it's like, oh, just do teas and coffees. Well, we did an event on Thursday, and the teas and coffees were in these bean-to-cup coffee machines. Yeah, they're lovely, but they're not great for 80 people. And you
No,
could see
slow.
just how frustrated
Yeah.
people
Look at-
were.
yeah.
All they wanted was a flask of tea and coffee.
Yeah.
Now, if the venue had thought about
Yeah.
that, they would have said, yeah, okay, let's just put some flasks of tea and coffee
Yeah,
out.
sort of-
So it's having that proactivity of what the journey is.
Yeah.
It's from the smallest of details,
Yeah.
from a coffee, to how you arrive and what that journey is.
Yeah.
So for me at the moment, I'm very, very much focused on the diversity, the inclusivity, and how it makes people feel from the moment they arrive to the moment they depart. But also, have you got my back? If you
Yeah.
haven't got my back, I'll
Yeah.
go elsewhere.
Yeah.
From a
Yeah.
commercial point of view, just
Yeah.
really touching on the commercial side of things,
Yeah.
how good are you and your team, I'll use you as an example because it's what you, about saying we're not the right venue for you? With the
I don't-
commercial drive in your head.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I suppose that's not our thing is, and also you want to help. So it's a natural, you naturally want to help, you want the event here. So I would say that probably most people are not very good at that. There are a couple of events that occasionally will say, actually, that's not for us. There's a lot of conversations that will probably take part in the new business team, where, it's almost like give them some advice. It might be go off, go, spread your wings somewhere else, and maybe we then become the next step venue. So there
Yeah.
are lots of discussions that do happen, because we appreciate that not everybody can, you're coming into a tier 1 venue. With that, there does come a certain price tag, etc. And we completely appreciate that. So there's a lot of events that we do win because they've been to, a smaller venue.
the
They've
next
kind
transition.
of earned their stripes, and now they're ready to take that next step, and then it's all about us taking them on that journey. So it does happen
Yeah.
And
occasionally.
I think as a venue, sometimes it's like, we can't do this,
Yeah.
but the offering that we can have is this, and then
Yeah.
we'll work towards that. So
Yeah.
it's being open and saying,
Yeah.
you know what, we can't change that ready
Yeah.
for your show, but actually if you come in this way, or we try this, we try that,
Yeah.
that might work, and the organiser might go, yeah, actually we'll meet you halfway because we know that you're trying to move forward.
Absolutely, and I suppose the way venues are changing as well is that it's not a straightforward deal. They're bespoke, very much like you say. The deal is done in a bespoke way that takes into account all of the idiosyncrasies of a particular event, and that might be a different way in which you're costing it. Whereas before, traditional model, square meterage, cost, it might be profit shares, it might be, tickets. There's lots of different ways in which business can work. It doesn't have to be rigid.
Rigidness, there you go. Because what I can't stand is when you get a menu that says chef's choice.
Yeah.
Well, what does chef's choice mean? It could be
Yeah.
anything. It could be anything from a
That means
Cadbury's
leftovers.
buttons or leftovers. Yeah, chef's choice.
That's what I'd say. it
Chicken.
means. Chicken.
So,
And leftovers.
and it,
Yeah.
that kind of approach now is very old-fashioned. It's
yeah,
like,
it
well,
is.
what's the palette of your delegates? What is it that you're
Yeah,
looking for? How
absolutely.
can we bespoke a menu? Let's speak to the chef.
Yeah.
Because everything's possible with a little bit of persuasion, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
it's also having the confidence to say no. So you can have the
Yes.
confidence to say this isn't the right event, but we as event managers also have to say, we're probably not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not the right fit, but we're too frightened to do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
because
Yeah.
our egos take over, and we're so thankful
Yeah.
that they've come to us.
Yes.
That we go, yeah, look, we'll make it work. We'll make
Yeah,
it work.
yeah.
Well, actually, we might not be able to make it
And I
work.
think,
Yeah.
from your perspective, as the link to the client, you saying to the client, you know what, I've spent time talking to the venue, I don't think it's going to work, you know, like, because, you know, you're their advisor, right, to say, you know what, but this is an alternative, or we'll come back next year to it because they're not quite ready for you yet, they're not ready, and actually they can't do what we want, you know, and it's, you're right, it's that.
But what do? We end up sending you an email saying, oh yeah, the client loves it, the client loves it, the client loves it, and then we blank you. We'll just ghost you and then go to somewhere else. How many times has a client ghosted you?
Yeah. Probably.
How do you manage that, Stephen? Because I've had to do it as well from our perspective in terms of client coming and saying, that's the venue we want to be at.
Yeah.
End of. And you're actually looking at it and thinking, the transport and logistics of people getting there are a nightmare. There's no hotels within a 15,
all those
20,
steps.
all of those surrounding elements. Yeah. Because I've seen it with weddings as well, wedding venues. How the hell we get all the guests to the wedding there and then get them all the way an hour's drive to the after, you know, it literally can drive you crazy. Yeah. How do you manage that part of the process?
For us, I think it's about being honest, and I think I think that you have to build a relationship with your client, and I think that an events agency becomes Marmite. You either love them or you hate them, and if you hate them, you go somewhere else, and that's just the reality. You come to us, we're going to tell you absolutely warts and all. Yes, you could come to this venue, but I don't think it's going to work because of If you still want to do it, I'm not sure we're the agency for you, because I don't think that we can fulfill the brief. And actually, I'd collaboratively work with the venue and say, look, help me out here. Can this work? Can it not work? And if it can't work, let's find a reason why it can't work, because it's in your interest too that we don't put a square peg into a round hole.
Absolutely.
And I think that builds integrity. I think we're so used to over-promising as an industry in general, not individuals, but oh yes, we can do this, we can do that, darling, we can do this, darling. But actually, let's stream it all back. We can do this with these parameters, we can do it with this limitation, or we can go back to the drawing board. I think you've just got to be really honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think the interesting thing is that also builds your brand in a positive way, doesn't it? And that's the thing, it's being brave and the honest, and we always say as well at the moment about the transparency. That's what organisers, etc. want from you. They want a transparent conversation, an honest conversation, and then if there are things to that you've got to kind of navigate, you navigate it together, or you keep them completely in the loop of that navigation. So that's interesting.
I think a lot of clients still don't see the skill set that event managers bring, or the event management from a venue bring. They just kind of think it's a bit of a fun job. Oh, I could do event management, organise a party for my mate once.
It's a piece of paperwork. Piece of paperwork.
Come on in then.
And I only think probably in the last 18, maybe 24 months, maybe since COVID, definitely, that our industry is starting to become a lot more recognised with the qualifications that we bring and the skill sets that we bring, and people are seeing us as consultants, like you're now acting as a consultant. They are now leaning on us more as a consultant and actually helping to bring a piece of live marketing to life. Because we're a live marketing industry. We're not events. We bring live marketing to life.
And I think that kind of happens with us from a more operational perspective. All of the event managers here, they work towards their NEBOSH, so they, health and safety qualifications. We're a self-regulating venue, so that means that from a local authority perspective, they trust us. They know that we know what we're doing, and that really drives the event managers that we bring in. They've got to kind of hit the bar. They've got to kind of get all of that. But then that means, again, going back to that tier 1 venue, you would expect the NEC to have absolutely amazing event managers, and if they're not, that's so we really have to kind of walk the walk and talk the talk, so to speak. But I think that absolutely comes into it.
It's about being brave. And commanding respect, and also respectful. Being respectful to your client, but being respected as well, commanding respect and being brave.
And not being nasty about it.
Absolutely.
Because you tend to find that sometimes if you are commanding all of that can come across quite arrogant sometimes, can't it? And it's like you're saying about that whole kind of inclusivity. Well, actually, we all need to be respectful. We talk to people with respect.
Absolutely.
I expect
We
people
feed
to
off
talk
each
to
other.
me with respect. You know, I don't expect to have a stand-up argument with an organiser. So it's a chat. It's, you know, you kind of define the way in which you want to do business.
It's, it's educating, isn't it? But educating in a way that you're all going on that journey together.
Yeah, yeah.
We were out on site with a client the other week, and he says, and the gentleman who I was with says, Jack, you're sharing all this information. There'll come a point where they're expecting me to do it by myself. And I says, well, I'm sharing information because I want you to be better at what you're doing.
And do it yourself.
But he turns around and he says, yeah, but we would never get rid of you because when the shit hits the fan, I won't have that experience.
But do you
I
not
says,
think,
you will eventually.
But do you not think, because we always laugh at this, and I remember saying to my boss years ago, you know, you get frustrated because things are not going the way that you want them to go, and such is not delivering how they should be, and they laughed at me and they went, you want utopia, but you won't have a job if utopia's there. You do realise that your job is to, you know, to manage all of that. And I'm like, oh yeah. And it's amazing now I sound like that old person, you know, that keeps on coming back and then saying it to like some of the newer generations coming through.
You want you to do everything. If you did everything, like you'd be like, oh, that's, but because it's not you doing all these little jobs, then you're like, oh, you get.
But I also think though, when you are sort of sharing that knowledge base, my conversation with people is always, yeah, but I'd love in the future for you to employ me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I think for me that means you've embraced your careers could progress so far.
Yeah, I love
that. Actually, if we get that 360 and you're then educating me, fantastic. Because
100%.
you never get too old to learn new things.
Yeah.
Well, look at the event we did. We shall keep the names quiet. And it was one of the hardest events we've ever done.
Yeah.
And you and I and the team worked very collaboratively. They got to a point that the client wasn't delivering.
Yeah.
And we were about 10 minutes from shutting the show before it started because they just didn't deliver what was needed. And that wasn't your fault, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
But instead of us going, we worked in absolute synergy, support, alignment. And we came out of that thinking, do you know what? This is a really great team.
Yeah.
Because we actually joined forces.
Yeah, we did.
And suddenly the client was like, oh yeah.
It's happened.
I haven't got a
And
leg
they
to
were
stand on.
completely unaware of what was going on behind the scenes, but it just took that headache away. And everything that was wrong that would stop you opening the doors was rectified. And
through
it was
teamwork
great
and
through
alignment
teamwork,
and that consultative approach, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Come back again.
I will. Not with that client, ex-client.
So that's venues. I think we've touched on that. I think we've touched on
definitely.
quite a few. You know, quite a few different things, and quite a lot what you said. I know you were talking with your NEC hat on, but it goes across the board in terms of those learnings. You know, we do a lot of external events, you know, and some of the venues that we're using for external events in terms of how they are set up and are they set up appropriately for events. And a lot of what we get is access. Access is a big issue. And quite often the client will say, it's perfect access for our visitors. And I'm so pleased that you brought it up before because it might be great access for visitors, but with the people building your event, they can't even get in.
Can't build on time.
And they're
they're
literally just focused in terms of that. And I've had a number of debates season gone in terms of build-up and breakdown procedures. And fortunately, with most shows here, you know, we've got safe build-up and breakdown periods. I've been in certain countries where breakdown periods are just unsafe because they're trying to get people out within a whole evening.
Quick, get them out, get them done.
And it's just not appropriate.
And
But it comes down to cost.
And we do push back. So, you know, if we, for argument's sake, felt that something was unsafe, we have had conversations. And the beauty is, a couple of clients that we do have, they've really taken it on board. And they have introduced extra build, extra breakdown days, if the need, you know, if the need arises. But we do 100% push back. That's something we can't compromise on.
It's consultativeness as well, isn't it?
Or you change the complexity in terms of what's allowed to be built. You know, we've seen that with a couple of the outdoor shows recently, where actually there's been clear that cannot be built safely within 2 days build. So change the design. Do something different because we're not going to authorise that because it just can't be done safely. So, But if we move on, next topic that we put down, which we think is quite an interesting one,
Yes.
and it's not going away.
Sustainable.
Uh-huh.
Sustainable initiatives we want to talk about. What have you seen on events? What have you brought in as businesses? Just 'cause
What's achievable? We're not
Yes.
talking about we are completely 100% sustainable now, but we're just thinking about what's some of the really interesting good practice that you've seen. And I'll start off with one just to keep going because it came up as a conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
I was at a venue this week in London,
Yeah.
and the number of different bins
Yeah.
with words in terms of what each bins were for.
Yeah.
Whereas that same day online, I'd seen a great practice where it was bins with a perspex top to them with examples of what the different ideas were.
picture on the
Just
I
a
love a bin.
small change.
I love a bin.
I love a bin if it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
If I've got 15
Yeah.
bins and I haven't got a clue where I'm putting something, it then becomes overload and frustrating.
Do you know when you go to somebody's house and they always say, you can tell, like if you nosy, you can tell, go to the toilet, see how clean it is. It's a bit like in the events industry.
Yeah.
If you go to another venue, for me, you always have a look at the bins. So how clear is it? Vancouver was amazing. That was very similar to that. And I went to one which was a great event, which was in Barcelona, and it was at the Fira. And I think it was just really for that particular event. But they brought a troop of people in that would talk to people and educate. So when you
Love
walk
it.
up with your plate, with your food in, where are you putting that? So they would stand there and they go, right, you pop that one in there. And I just thought, do you know what? If you had a couple of events that
education.
did that, that would really get the message across. So I think I've seen that, which I was impressed with. And I think there's a really interesting move in the industry at the moment because there's a little bit of a backing off. Because if you think we've gone through this huge journey, most venues are zero to landfill and all that kind of stuff. We're doing the sustainable thing. We're making sure that our energy consumption's down, that we're not putting heating and lighting on if it's not needed. We task our security officers, there's a nighttime walk round to make sure that we're not leaving things on and being careless with things. Yeah. So I think there's all these great initiatives that we've been putting in over a period of time that now we're kind of, we've given that kind of feedback, so you're educating other venues, maybe newer venues, but actually there's not much out there now. It's kind of gone a bit silent.
What's new? What's next?
What is we're all waiting for it. The problem that we have is technology changes that quickly. Nobody wants to invest in big initiatives because it's going to be redundant in a year's time and the next big thing's in. It almost needs to calm down so we find our norm to bring in those sustainable methods or whatever they may be in order to then move forward again.
And to say whether what you've done has actually made an impact. Because if you're constantly
Absolutely.
changing, how do you know that one element has actually made an actual impact?
Organisers are getting very savvy. You're finding a lot more, so they're expecting more of a venue. As in, and I don't know whether you do this, but we have to sometimes give stats around what they've done, what's the energy consumption being like, all that kind of stuff, which, most venues now can churn out that information. So that's been there for a little while. But like I say, there's nothing absolutely that I've seen that's absolutely groundbreaking, and that surprises me sometimes. I think the next step, the transportation part, is probably the hot potato at the moment. So how do people share? So I know that we looked at it, and other venues I know have, but we use a system called Voyage Control, which obviously if you're coming to build a show, you're breaking down a show, you put all your details in. How does that then take it to the next step where if you're transporting something from London or whatever to the NEC, you might share a vehicle and then, so how does that happen? And I don't know whether Craig mentioned, but that, lots of things, we've just got a new partner, Levy, so they're doing huge things with catering, so there's lots of sustainable things, initiatives that are going on there. So you tend to find very proactive from a food perspective, very proactive in terms of data, but actually what is going on.
We were told a really interesting one, which I've seen but didn't
Yeah.
twig, by Lisa Sweeten recently. And Lisa gave us the example of something very simple in terms of when you're doing your menu for your food,
Yeah.
having the vegetarian
At the
option at the top.
Because the people look to the top first.
And generally speaking, pick from the top.
Oh.
Or
By
maybe just do a vegetarian menu.
Or still
Or a vegan.
But I
Yeah,
just
we
found
can
that
be,
I just
yeah.
found that quite interesting in terms of they noticed the
Yeah.
change of selections
Yeah.
just by moving some and
But
less
we
meat
went
was
with
eaten.
vegan. It's quite funny, and you get trends, don't you?
Yeah.
So we had we had trend that, like, if I go back a couple of years, it seemed that everybody that was coming in on that conference market was all wanting vegan menus, and I've seen that drop. It's like it's gone now. The trend's not there. They're not asking for that. So it's some are,
Yeah.
but I don't know why that is, because I thought that would have been a trend to stay. Maybe. Yeah, it's.
So how about
It's
yourself?
bizarre.
What have you seen with the different venues that you worked with the different events that you've been on? What are some of the nice things that you've seen, the things that people are doing well?
Well, I'm going to put a spanner in the works here, because I actually think from an environmental sustainability piece, I think people are just very fatigued by it.
Yeah.
And I think that for me it is an absolute given that we're doing everything we can to minimise single-use materials, that we're not wasting food, so chef choice menus.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a given to me. I think what I find so extraordinary within the audio-visual element is just the waste and single-use materials that we're using for stand builds, for exhibition builds, for stage builds.
Yeah.
And I absolutely have been ruthless with our AV team, and I've completely moved away from an AV company to a new AV company, simply because they couldn't provide the sustainability that we needed, because I want to use materials that can be reused.
Yeah.
I want to use modular stages. Even the most
Yeah.
razzle-dazzle stages
Yeah.
can absolutely be with renewable resources.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of carpet you just see thrown away.
Yeah.
And what changed my mind with that was we did an event at the Met,
Yeah.
and we had this lovely stage set. We broke it down, it all went in the bin, and someone came in and built exactly the same stage set.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the venue has, I think, a bit of governance in this, saying, look, let me help you out here. On day 1, 2, we've got this with that stage set. Why don't I speak to the client and see if you can take that set for your event on 3, 4? Because that means that we're splitting the cost in half and we're using the same stage set. That's where I'm seeing the magic happen from a venue point of view, because that is so clever.
Conversation. Yeah.
For me, sustainability is now far more social and economic based. It's all about how we are looking for venues that are allowed or are leaving a social and economic footprint in the local communities. How are they supporting the local communities? How are they working with local companies rather than great big multinationals? What is the footprint that's being left in the local region?
Yeah.
And what's really exciting is when you find a venue that can actually showcase that. I am interested in how much electricity is being used and what your ratios are on recycling, but actually for me what really excites us is how you're leaving an impact in the local community. What are you doing with local food banks, for example, and putting food waste in? The amount of times I'm told, oh, we can't do that because of health and safety. Well, then fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find the alliance with the local food bank and get it so we are certified, so that food isn't wasted and put into a garbage disposal.
Yeah.
How can we help local communities? How can we work with local charities? How can we give people work experience? So there's so many charities in the local area that could be stewards, that could be doing registration, that could just be getting the experience of face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, then sustainability becomes really magical.
And I completely echo that, and these guys know how passionate I am about that and the community part. So we've now got more engagement with community. So right from the Levy stuff, they do a lot with different charities, etc. So they're a big player in that field. And NEC Catering before was doing a lot on that front. But for me, absolutely, I get a lot of excitement from the local community engagement.
So exciting.
And I'm very passionate about, obviously, bringing on new talent in events. and I do a lot of work on that, and I'm actually really supported by the company. On that, NEC have got a very big appetite, they realise. And you know what, a lot of it is also, they're good practices, it's a good thing to do morally, but actually it makes good business sense to be like that, because you know, if you're engaging with the local community, you've got people that are coming through the door, they're visitors, they want to work here. So when we do go out to market, we've got people that want to work here, and they've got people that have got a bit of an understanding about what goes on.
The understanding's a big one, isn't it?
You want the next generation to have the knowledge and skill sets that
Absolutely.
that we've got, so actually bringing them in early and showing them the venue and what you do and get them engaged rather than,
we do it right from junior schools now, so we're affiliated with a couple of schools, so we've got all through that, you know, through that journey, and where we're, I think, supporting event industry is by getting them at that grassroots. It should be, you know, event industry should be taught in schools. It should be something that they're aware of. I was mortified, probably it might have been about 10 years ago, but I went into local schools to do, you know, some of the assemblies, companies that come in. It was, you know, police, hairdressers, mechanics, NEC, didn't have a clue. Local people, have you been to the NEC? Children? No. I'm glad to say when we now go into local schools, they do know. And we're trying to entice them about, well, think of the art of possible. Think of things that you would never associate. People don't associate. They think, come in here. They don't think that, I don't know, finance are behind the scenes. People that, you know, create stand plans, people that create CAD plans, riggers. You know, rigging has got obviously it's been a you know, an industry, hasn't it, for years and years. That they need that, you know, they need that blood coming into it. You know, because it's almost like a dying skill set, isn't it? So you know, all of those things. It's about tapping into that and enthusing people about education about the events industry, which we see it all the way through.
Which is what the podcast is about. Is that's what we want people like you on here is to talk about that and say we're going to showcase that events industry is not just one element. It's this spectrum of hundreds of different skills and jobs that anybody can get involved in. And
what a fantastic job to have, because the skill set. If you think of COVID. When, you know, obviously venues, events industry was hit hard. You know, first thing to kind of go, last thing to come back. But what actually happened is the skill sets that people had in these roles, they walked into other jobs like that. Yeah. And it was because they're used to, it's that project management skill, it's that, you know, it's the communication. And it was quite interesting. I know we didn't get some people back because you know they jumped onto the other side and thought, oh, hang on,
I like it over here.
I can be home by this time.
I don't have to work on the
weekends.
Think of the moral bit. Think of the moral bit. You bring the moral bit into it, and I think that that's about sustainability as well. And the moral compass is really important. It's identifying suppliers that have the alignment to equality. It really infuriates me that we are still going to destinations where equality isn't considered the norm. You can be given a brief, for example, Budapest is a classic example where they've now just basically said that any kind of free speech to do with LGBTQ plus issues, it's just been completely obliterated. You can't have pride marches. They're trying to reduce the rights of LGBTQ plus people. Why are we going there as an industry? Why are we promoting these hotels? Why are we going to the Middle East? I don't understand it. Why are we going to destinations and hotels that ultimately do not reflect equality? Because what we're saying as an industry, it's okay to repress. As a neurodiverse 50-year-old gay man, I have had an absolute nerve of being repressed in life. And ultimately, I feel that we as an industry have a moral responsibility now to help change things. And we can change things. We can absolutely change by deciding what suppliers we work with and who we avoid. There are hotel chains right now in the UK that are affiliated to organisations, political organisations. Brunei is a classic example. We won't mention the name. but they stone people to death every day because they don't believe in that kind of extremism religious view. Yet we might go there. We might use the airline. We're going to the UAE. Well, the UAE. If I go to the UAE, I am an illegal citizen. I am illegal. I could be arrested for being gay. I could be arrested for holding my husband's hand. Why are we going there?
Yeah.
Why are we going there?
It's looking at the bigger picture, I think you're saying, isn't it? That it's not just like at the local level. Like if we want to try and make this impact, it's taking that step back and going,
what is the footprint? So when you're saying, when we say that the social and economic sustainability piece is really important from a venue perspective, it's also what are the venue shareholders? Where do the political beliefs sit? And I think this is my passionate belief. We can change so much. We can change so much as an industry by just avoiding the things that actually repress. It's wonderful to see that planes are flying across the US at the moment with probably 70% of its seats empty. Why? Because why would I take a delegation to the US right now? I just wouldn't. Because there are so many restrictions that are put into equality. So I think the big thing for us now, from a sustainability point of view, is using the moral compass and saying, right, what can we do that makes a difference? Using venues like the NEC, for example, that absolutely get it, that get it.
We see that from a recruitment perspective, and we definitely see that in terms of, when you say about the rainbow, that's kind of our motto behind the scenes, is that actually we want the rainbow.
You need the rainbow.
We need the rainbow, and everybody brings their own strengths in different ways. And I think that's been something, a big driver over the last couple of years at the NEC as well, is bringing that part to life. We've had a lot of changes, we've had a lot of people, new people joining us, but definitely that whole equality, that whole imprint is definitely changed. And hopefully it leads to creativity as well, because you've got people that are, so that we're thinking differently. And also, I mentioned it earlier, but having people come into this industry that are not originally from an events background, that adds a lot of difference there as well, and different thought processes.
Freshness, where we're not being stale. Because we have a danger in terms of this works. I know it works. Just do it because I know if it doesn't work, I also know how to solve the problem. Whereas actually, if we go back to what we're meant to be creating, and we say it all the time, we're meant to be creating experiences. Why would you come back for the same experience over and over and over again? And this is sometimes a challenge for yourselves from a venue perspective. Why do visitors want to come back to that same venue if it's not going to be a new experience? Or if it's not going to be a new tailored experience? And it can be small percentage. It can be, we say it with stand designs in terms of when we do trade shows. People want a consistency because they want to understand what they're looking for. But when they land there, they also want to be able to say, oh, that's new. And if they can do that, it is that, as you said before, that little bit of dopamine rush in terms of they felt comfortable.
Understanding your audience.
It's how you manage that.
Because some don't want that. So if we've got some shows that come here, don't change the footprint, because if you do, you're going to freak people out. It's a bit like going to the supermarket. If they change the aisles for me,
don't move my aisle.
Don't move the aisle. I want to know that I'm going down here because I know what I'm getting from down there.
But your special offers on the end
exactly.
are where the buzz comes.
Or I'll stop in front of the spices and to see what's new.
So this is where I'm going. It's about managing that expectation in terms of what makes people comfortable, but also gives them that, I want to come back because I know something there is going to get me excited and it's going to give me something new.
And always put the clothes first, because we're going to go in there.
That's why I think venues like the NEC have a real challenge on their hands, because being really open and honest, if in the past I've just seen the NEC as a very old-fashioned container ship.
We've got holes.
Honestly, with holes.
And like hangers, aren't they? They're like big airport hangers.
What I've seen, certainly since COVID, with the NEC and ICC and the Vox, is actually there has been a massive change in approach. It's very fun, it's very vibrant, there's a lot more inclusivity. You're talking about the community, we're talking about how can I help you. It's not like, well, that's the menu, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Not that you ever, I'm not saying you did do that, but
I think it was a cultural thing back, you know,
Well,
if you
venues.
go back, I think
Venues across the
were
board,
like that.
Yeah,
This is the
absolutely.
size of our venue, this is the
Absolutely.
square meterage,
Take it or
do what
leave
you
it.
want in there.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're able to
100%.
say, here's the service channels, we don't think what
Yeah.
you're suggesting works, and from experience
Yeah.
we'd say you maybe look at this.
Yeah.
I've still been in so many venues, poor venues,
Yeah.
where you arrive in there and you just think, who's worked on the floor plan on this? Oh, the
Yeah.
organisers. Well, didn't the venue kind of
Pick
help
up,
them, because
yeah.
this is an absolute pig's ear,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah. And that's where I'm quite heavily involved in things like the e-guide, which,
Yeah.
you know, like industry standards and things like that. But, I mean, who would ever think that they'd put me looking after something like that, because I'm not exactly a conventional type of person.
maybe that you're the right
But,
person.
but
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
that
the
is, yeah, because, you know, I look at it as well in layman's terms, because I think, well, if I can't understand it, nobody else
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
understand it. So
That's the
how
only
does
way
that
to look at
work?
stuff, isn't it? It's the only
yeah.
way is to look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So-
With loads of different peoples, with loads of different learning styles.
Yeah.
You know, again, I go back to that example
Yeah.
where we started with the bin. You
Yeah.
know, seeing trash in a visible might not work for some people,
Yeah.
but for me to have to go there and read all the
Yeah.
different categories.
Oh,
No, if
That's-
I've got a can and I see a can, it's going in that bin,
Yeah.
and that experience has been quick, it's been easy.
yeah,
I'm going away with a positive experience, knowing that I've done my thing and walked away.
yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I'm there and I'm stood and I'm half the time, if it doesn't make sense, it's just going in the general.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Jack? Lisa will be really happy we're talking about this. She'll be so happy we've discussed bins.
But you know what?
She will be.
I think I was so I sit on the AEV event managers group, and whenever we go to other venues to do tours, we always take photos of the bin and we share them.
I
So
do this with Lisa.
we are bin geeks.
No, with Lisa's meeting, I was in the pictures of bins always.
Must be an event manager thing.
But
I'm
it is,
not
it's
sure.
other things as well though. You see it in terms of clothing, you know,
Yeah,
event clothing, you know, the amount of
Yeah.
different events that I've worked on in my freelance capacity,
Yeah.
where you get clothing provided that's suitable for that event. How many times do I actually wear that clothing again?
You just
Yeah.
need a black
Post-event.
t-shirt.
Yeah,
Because it's-
that's true.
because
One
it's
t-shirt.
covered from a
Yeah.
branding perspective.
Yeah.
I know why the marketing agencies do it, because from a
Yeah.
branding perspective, they need to get it covered.
Yeah.
But so and so and so and so, 2025, right? Am I actually going to wear that in 2026 for that event? You know,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So it's just little smart decisions in terms of we do it
Yeah.
with graphics with clients now. You know, come to a so and so show. Da 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 da. Do you need the name of the event?
Yeah.
Do you need the title on there? Because if you don't, you've actually got something that can be used again.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know?
but then
Yeah.
you're taking money away from the printers,
This
aren't
is
you?
the
It's a
trouble,
big
isn't
old.
it?
It's a big old.
It's balance.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's the big money making machine,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
And we've gone into that market.
No.
So now we are producers of Shell Scheme, B Matrix, Carpet. You know, we do all of that. So it's, but our drive was one-stop shop. But there are some great, obviously benefits of that for a sustainable route. Yes, we are obviously commercial and we're wanting to sell, and we are wanting to sell the graphics. That's being honest. But because we own our own stock now, it's saved. It's, you know, it's repurposed time and time again.
Yeah.
And things like that, so it gives us the ability to be able to do that. So
We could sit here and talk.
We
and
could
talk
keep talking
Yeah.
and
talk.
talking.
But I am conscious about both your times.
yeah,
So
no,
I really do appreciate you coming and joining us
Yeah.
again. It's been great to hear what's been going on.
Yeah.
You know, we don't get enough time for that, and I'm
Yeah.
sure our listeners will see that as well, and
Yeah.
then the advice on those two topic areas as
Yeah.
well. So
It's been a great chat.
we'll
really
continue
great.
to see what you
Aw.
get up to.
I enjoyed it too.
Good, good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much.